Hey guys, what's up? I watched the Indiana Jones movies for the first time because of this class, and I'm not disappointed. They were awesome movies, full of adventure, action-packed, suspenseful, and Indiana Jones is easy on the eyes, if you know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to discuss some things I saw that really helped me connect to our lecture or what we talked about in class. Let's get right into it. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the movie actually opens with a scene of Indiana Jones going after the golden idol, or the idol of fertility. Indiana Jones is a treasure hunter and he's looking for historical artifact. The Raiders of the Lost Ark is a race between Indiana Jones and the Nazis to see who's going to get to the Lost Ark first. One of the bad guys, or one of the Nazis, his name is Renee, and one of the quotes from the movie that stuck out to me was, he's referring to the Ark of the Covenant. He's like, it's a radio to speak to God and it's in my reach. And this just shows how much the Ark of the Covenant is respected and how much it is idolized and how it's seen as godly and not of this world. Out there, it's just out of our reach, and nobody has ever seen it before. Everybody wants to see this amazing artifact. I want to talk about the warning signs that I saw. Okay, hey, maybe we shouldn't go after this mythical box. The first one was the symbols on the top piece of the staff. Warning, do not disturb the ark. Like, bad things will happen if you disturb the ark. But Indiana Jones does not believe in this magical, he calls it superstitious, hocus pocus. He goes after it anyway. The second warning sign was when they actually entered the place where the ark was kept, all the snakes all over the ground. And the huge snake statue that just like pops out. And snakes biblically are used as a metaphor for evil. It's another symbol for maybe we should stop. Another one, which is like a total, obvious sign of danger, is the weather outside. When they were opening where the ark was kept, the weather was lightning. If I am going on a crazy quest adventure and I'm going after this like godly artifact and I see that there's a bunch of lightning and thunder starting to strike, I'm gonna take that as a sign of danger. Okay, the next thing that I noticed was when the ark was first lifted, the eerie, suspenseful music intensified, so I was like, ooh, something's gonna happen. So those were the warning signs or symbols that I saw. And it kind of shows like this ark needs to be respected. Respect should be given to it. Like, people need to step back and realize we need to respect that this is not from earth. It's godly and will mess us up if we try to tamper with it. The huge scene where the ark is finally opened by the Nazis and Indiana and Marian, they're tied up. That scene just really illustrated the Numinous Religious Experience. The experience of the sacred, of the holy, in the words of Rudolf Otto, the overwhelming power or the holy other beyond humanity. When they open the ark and the flashes of light are inside the box and the fog comes out, as a sign of respect, Indiana actually tells Marian, like, do not look at it. So they open it and the beams of light just come shooting out and like enter all the people that are looking at it, all the Nazis, which I thought was some kind of symbolism. This holy, godly artifact actually defeated the evil, because it just really showed how much power this item has. And as a sign of respect, since Indiana and Marian did not look at it, they don't get destroyed. They get saved. The ark just releases this like fire into the sky, and you see the sky open up. It's very like, I see that as like, oh wow, it's going to God. It's going straight up to God. That's like symbolism right there. The power of the ark, the people that were looking at it, that were right there in front of it, their faces were melting off. Okay, their faces were literally melting. As for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, I definitely see why the movie was criticized. Like, it was very dark compared to the other two. We do see that Indiana Jones is still quite a skeptical guy. He doesn't believe in all the ghost stories people are telling him. They tell Indiana Jones that Shiva actually brought him to India, that Shiva made Indiana Jones fall from the sky. He doesn't believe in it. He's like, no, my plane just fell. The darkness has come all over the country. The Shiva Linga stone protects their village. It's a stone with 3 lines, and it represents the 3 lines of the universe. The Indian man, when he said that when the stone was taken, the wells dried up, the river turned to sand, the crops were swallowed by the earth, the animals laid down and turned to dust, and the men went to go fight the fire because there was a fire that happened, and when they came back, the women were crying in the darkness because their children, all their children, were taken away. It definitely made me think about Frazer's God-King-land equation, where if the king isn't right, if the king doesn't feel right, he's not right, the society must sacrifice that king so that he is reborn. The same things happen to the crops, the vegetation, and the society as a whole. There was an effect when those stones were taken away from the village. These things happened. This was the effect it had. The Maharaja was actually under this curse after drinking the blood of Kali. So yes, there was something wrong with the king. So that's how I related the whole Frazer's monomyth. I wanted to talk about the violence that I saw in this movie. There was a lot of it. You definitely see this dark side of Indiana Jones when he is force-fed the blood of Kali, because he becomes very violent. He becomes a very violent person. He hits Shorty, his little sidekick. I want to talk about the Thuggee cult. We see their ritualistic worship of the god Kali. The whole ritual sacrifice is huge in this movie. How the Thuggee cult, they sacrifice people, human beings, for their god Kali. You definitely hear some godly music. In this one, you see a lot of fire, aggressive colors, violent colors like red, orange, very bright and vibrant. When the little boy says, if you drink the blood of Kali, you will not wake up from a nightmare. Because later when Dr. Jones is forced to drink that blood, he turns into a savage beast. No conscience anymore. He doesn't care about Shorty. He doesn't care about his love interest anymore. The chanting and the singing was part of the whole worship. That was their little ritualistic chant. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the stones. In the last scene, Indiana Jones references Shiva, the Hindu god, and the stone gets heated while Mola Ram is holding it. And it heats up and he lets it go. Indiana Jones catches it, and Mola Ram falls to his death. Finally, at the end, he goes to the Indian man. He finally came to a sense of realization. He says, I understand the power of the stones now. As for the last movie, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, there were more elements of Christianity in this film than in the other two. This one focused mainly on Christianity. I mean, the big artifact here that Indiana Jones was after, and the Nazis, of course, was the Holy Grail, that in Christianity it's said to give eternal life, and anybody that drinks out of it will have eternal life. So it's a huge Christian symbol. Christians actually go to church and they take the body and the blood of Christ, and it's said to give us eternal life. Indiana Jones is talking to his class at the beginning, and he says, we cannot afford to take mythology at face value. He doesn't just look at a myth and think, oh, okay, that's a myth. He goes and he researches about it, and he goes and he experiences it for himself. And I noticed that at the end of all 3 movies, he usually comes to some sort of, conclusion as to what he believes now. He sees it for himself. He sees it happen. I feel like his adventures make him more of a believer in each little myth. He believes some part of it. He takes some part of it. Myth doesn't have to be something that you take literally, but it's something that it does hold some truth to it. Here we go. So the mythic and narrative dimension. Most mythologists point to some interpretation of myth as true. Either myth is sacred story held by the devout to be historically factual, or myth is sacred story that poetically or psychologically rings true. Like, the myths do carry some kind of truth with them. So that's definitely a connection I made with that. That guy that almost dies with the boat propeller, when he tells Indiana Jones, he asks him, "Why do you seek the cup of Christ? For his glory or for yours?" I thought this was very significant because throughout the movie, everyone is going after the cup, for their own personal gain, because, it's supposed to provide you with eternal life. And then we see at the end of the movie, the last of the three brothers, that he lasted 700 years waiting, which shows the whole eternal life that was given to him by the Holy Grail. And he goes ahead and he tells them, like, listen, the real one gives life, and the fake ones take life. There's a whole symbolism of the Grail. The fake Grail takes away your life, and the real Grail gives you eternal life. Elsa goes and she picks out, like, the shiniest golden Grail, and she gives it to him, the Nazi guy. And he goes ahead and he gets the water, he drinks it, and for like a good 3 seconds he thinks, like, oh, this was a good idea. He goes ahead and he drinks it, and so yeah, he drank from the Grail, the wrong Grail, and he gets all old and wrinkly super fast. His hair starts growing all white and disgusting, and then he just finally died. The knight warns Elsa and Indiana Jones. He warns them, do not take the Grail out, like, past the seal that was on the ground. And Elsa goes ahead and she takes it, and the whole destruction happens in there. And Indiana Jones is going to save Elsa, and she's just too worried about the Grail. And she's after it for the wrong reasons, which brings me back to the quote I brought up before of, why do you seek the cup of Christ? For his glory or for yours? She was obviously seeking it for her own glory. And that's the reason why she ends up dying, is what I think. That's just like symbolism right there, because she's just after it for eternal youth. She wants to stay young and live forever. Finally, at the end, Indy, he believes with the Grail, the real Grail, the actual Grail that saves his father's life. I feel like it opened up Indiana Jones's eyes as to, okay, maybe my dad isn't as crazy as I thought. Overall, I love the movies. Too worried about the Grail, and she's after it for the wrong reasons, which brings me back to the quote I brought up before of, why do you seek the cup of Christ? For his glory or for yours? She was obviously seeking it for her own glory. And that's the reason why she ends up dying, is what I think. That's just like symbolism right there, because she's just after it for eternal youth. She wants to stay young and live forever. Finally, at the end, Indy, he believes with the Grail, the real Grail, the actual Grail that saves his father's life. I feel like it opened up Indiana Jones's eyes as to, okay, maybe my dad isn't as crazy as I thought. Overall, I love the movies.